Everybody, peace. Welcome to the STBY College Football Show. Wherever you're listening, we're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan Cottle. And listen, we've got a wonderful show for today, guys. We're going to be talking about, obviously, college football. And we're going to be reviewing the newest rankings that came out from the College Football Playoff Committee for Week 12. And listen, we're going to get deep into not only the rankings, but also what the actual purpose is of the College Football Playoff Committee, because what's happening now, and it's so ironic because this is the last year of the 4-team format for the playoffs. This is the first and the most prevalent year where we're actually going to see what the actual purpose is of the College Football Playoff Committee, and we're going to actually see the reasoning for why the playoff format was created in the first place. Since its inception in 2014, I think there were some years where the committee wasn't held to the standard to which they perpetuated, and this is going to be the year where we're actually going to get to see, like I said, what values do the playoff committee hold in the highest esteem, and what is his purpose? What is his purpose? And we're going to get into all of that, guys. Before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in STBY Show. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/STBYShow/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/STBYShow/tip. All the links to our website where you can purchase our merchandise, to where you can make donations, and to our Patreon. All those links are going to be in the description below, so be sure to check that out. With that being said, guys, let's going to get right into it, shall we? Like I was saying, I wanted to spend the first half of this show today talking about what the actual purpose is of the College Football Playoff Committee, and why this year is most prevalent, and why this year is going to actually reveal the true purpose of the College Football Playoff Committee, and the reason why the playoff format was implemented in the first place. And so, obviously, when we talk about it, we say, well, yeah, the reason for the College Football Playoff Committee is to create an unbiased, objective stance when making the rankings, and it's an institution that's in place to get the 4 best teams in the college football playoff. And the reason we went into a college football playoff as opposed to a bowl format from the BCS system is to give the 4 best teams, as opposed to the 2 best teams in the country, a chance to compete for a national championship. At face value, that's what it is, right? But then we have to start asking ourselves, okay, what is the criteria? We know the criteria is the eye test, and the schedule, conference strength, pedigree. There's a lot of factors, right? Alleged factors that go into determining what the 4 best teams are in college football, right? And the reason that this year is going to be huge in determining what the true purpose is of the College Football Playoff Committee and what its true values are is because we have got an interesting scenario, an interesting occurrence that could possibly play out, and that is that Alabama wins out. A one-loss Alabama wins out and defeats Georgia in the SEC championship game. You have one-loss Texas that could possibly win the Big 12 championship game. And then you have Georgia, who could lose to Alabama in the, like I said, SEC championship game. Now you got a one-loss Georgia, one-loss Alabama, and a one-loss Texas. Not to mention we still have a potential undefeated Washington, undefeated Big 10 team, either Michigan or Ohio State, and then we have an undefeated ACC team and Florida State that could possibly go undefeated as well. So then, because really the question comes down to, okay, Alabama or Texas, right? And I want to be really delicate with how I approach this, because I don't want to come across as someone that's biased, because we know the point of the show is to be objective, right? And we want to talk about everything from an objective perspective, unbiased truth. So when I discuss this, it's from a complete unbiased and objective stance. However, we do understand that one of the biggest criterias that the College Football Playoff Committee emphasized was your out-of-conference schedule. Your out-of-conference scheduling. Texas and Alabama both did the best they could in honoring that criteria by scheduling each other for their out-of-conference opponents. In Georgia, we see didn't schedule anybody for their out-of-conference opponents. Anyone of merit. We saw that Michigan tried to they scheduled Texas Tech, but it's not their fault that Texas Tech ended up not playing up to the standard or even performing to the level at which many people thought they would. They can't control that. We go back to Alabama, Texas. Both those teams honored that criteria of scheduling a tougher out-of-conference schedule because that's something that the playoff committee allegedly values. And so now we get the matchup. Now we get the head-to-head matchup between Alabama and Texas. Texas beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa, which is one of the toughest places to play in college football. Granted, it's in week 2 of the regular season. And that is the reason. That's what we've been told. That is the reason why Texas continues to be ranked above Alabama this late in the season, is because of that head-to-head matchup, which is also something that the playoff committee values. So we see that, and now we start to go to the eye test. What does the eye test tell us? Well, Texas started out the season extremely strong. Many people thought that they were a top 3 team in the country. They struggled as of late since losing to Oklahoma. Though they haven't lost since losing to Oklahoma, they struggled, especially with Quinn Ewers being out. But Quinn Ewers will be back this week. They struggled, offensively and defensively. Look over to Alabama. The polar opposite. Alabama struggled at the start of the season. They had a huge quarterback controversy, not knowing whether it be Tyler Huntley, Ty Simpson, or Jalen Milroe. Now it's very clear that Jalen Milroe is the guy. Potential dark horse Heisman candidate. Actually, we'll talk about that on our show tomorrow. Alabama's offense is potent, averaging over 30-plus points over the last 4 games. And they have one of the best defenses in the country, particularly in the secondary, led by Khalid McKinstry and Malachi Moore. So it looks like both teams are trending in opposite directions. Texas is on the downslide, it appears, and Alabama is on the upward trajectory. So that's what we see with the eye test. And what the eye test tells us is that Alabama is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the SEC. And many people are starting to question whether Alabama is better than Georgia. We're getting legitimate questions about that, but no one's questioning whether Texas is actually the best team in college football. No one is questioning. People are actually starting to question whether Texas is even the best team in the Big 12. If they match up with Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship game, will they lose? Or against Oklahoma State or whoever they'll match up with in the Big 12 championship game? Do they actually have a legitimate chance of winning? Those are the questions that Texas has right now. And then the question becomes, okay, what do we really value? What does the committee truly value? What is the main purpose of the college football playoff? The purpose is to get the 4 best teams into the college football playoff. Now, we have these criteria, we have these merits, we have this award system, we have all of this stuff in place to help, quote-unquote, allegedly determine what are the 4 best teams. But when we look on film, when we look at them play, who are the 4 best teams? And the reason this is really the reason there's even a question between Texas and Alabama is because people subconsciously know who the better team is. Listen, if we look at it at face value, it should be no question that Texas will get in the college football playoff before Alabama does because of that head-to-head matchup. And that's what the playoff committee allegedly values, right? That one-on-one matchup makes a difference. It's huge. It has to. It has to, allegedly, right? Because if it doesn't, then you're saying to the college football playoff, or saying to all teams in college football that, listen, the regular season really doesn't matter. I know we said to schedule tough out-of-conference opponents, but we didn't really mean that. We were just telling you guys that. Don't do it. It doesn't really matter. Because look, Texas scheduled a tough out-of-conference opponent in Alabama. They won on the road. but it didn't get in. So it really doesn't matter. Screw you guys. That's what the college football playoff committee will be saying, right? So there's no question that really, well, technically, based on your criteria, the college football playoff committee, that Texas should be, no question, no matter what happens, ahead of Alabama when the rankings are done, when the final rankings come in on Selection Sunday. However, the reason this is even a question, the reason this is even a debate, is because intrinsically, deep down, subconsciously, everyone knows who the better team truly is between Alabama and Texas. If no one thought that Alabama was truly better than Texas, we would not be having this discussion. The only reason it's even a debate is because people actually know, people truly know that Alabama is the better team. People know that Alabama is better than Texas right now. And that is the only reason we're having this discussion. If no one thought that Alabama was better than Texas, we would not have this discussion and would not be a debate. But what happens is, as a playoff committee, you set these standards and regulations and guidelines for, okay, this is, you want a conference champion, you want a tough out-of-conference schedule, you want to pass the eye test, you have all these things. And so then teams follow that criteria, and this is what it takes, you say, and they follow all those rules. Now you've pigeonholed, as a college football playoff committee, you've pigeonholed yourself into this box of determining who the 4 best teams are. You say this is the criteria. But what happens is, as students of the game, people that know football, people that watch football, they know that is a small conglomerate, that is a small factor in determining who truly are the 4 best teams. If you ask any football analyst, you ask anyone that watches football, knows the game of football, Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in college football right now. And there's no question about it. This is the only reason we're having this discussion right here. And the purpose of the College Football Playoff Committee is, at face value, despite the guidelines and regulations that they say they want and they say they value, the purpose of the College Football Playoff Committee is to get the 4 best teams in college football into the playoff. I don't care about your record. I don't care about your scheduling. I don't care about your conference championships. The purpose of the College Football Playoff Committee is to get the 4 best teams into the college football playoff. If that means we get a 2-loss Alabama, which should have happened last year, if that means we get a 1-loss Georgia, who didn't win a conference championship, if that means we get a 1-loss Michigan, who didn't win a conference championship, if that means we get a 2-loss Washington, it doesn't matter. The purpose is to get the 4 best teams into the college football playoff. And the only reason we're having this discussion is because people know intrinsically and deep down that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in college football. If no one thought that, we wouldn't be having this discussion because Texas already passed all the other criteria. But because you pigeonholed yourself into this criteria that you say that you want, one team gets it, but then everyone knows that really this team, the other team, Alabama, is better than Texas, the team that passed all the criteria. Now you have to go back on your word, if you're the College Football Playoff Committee, and put the best team in. You either do that, or you say we really don't care who the 4 best teams are, we just want the teams with the best resume. Which one is it? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either really want to get the 4 best teams in there, or you just want the teams with the best resume. And that is the issue that the College Football Playoff Committee is going to face. And people say, well, it doesn't matter because it's the last year for the 4 team, we're going to the 12 team. I'm not a proponent of the 12-team playoff format because now it just adds more games for these guys, and it increases the risk of injury, and it decreases the value of the regular season, which decreases the excitement from college football, which is going to decrease viewership, and college football will it's not going to lose a large amount of money, but will lose a bit of it because now you're decreasing the value of the regular season by increasing the playoff format. Think about the most exciting playoffs in professional sports or in American sports. Football and baseball come to mind, right? And basketball to an extent, but more so baseball and football. And that's because it's more exclusive. It's difficult because there's less spots, which makes the regular season that much more meaningful, specifically in football. And the more exclusive, or the more inclusive you make the playoffs, the less value the regular season has. And that's what's going to happen in the 12-team playoff format. But sticking with it right now, the College Football Playoff Committee has a chance to truly define what their purpose is with this season, with this iteration of the College Football Playoff. Because you truly get to determine, you truly get to tell us, the viewers, us, the media pundits and analysts, what you truly determine, what you truly value. Do you want the teams with the best resume, or do you want the 4 best teams in college football? If you just want the team with the best resume, okay, we'll just take Texas. But if you truly want the 4 best teams in college football, you'll take Alabama. Everyone knows that, and that's the only reason we're even having this discussion. And it's simple as that. But in our next segment, guys, we are going to be previewing the best matchup from this upcoming weekend between Washington and Oregon State. So, guys, be sure to stick around for all that. You are not going to miss it. We'll be right back.
Or the South Pacific Islands, or maybe certain parts of the Amazon rainforest.
All right, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we discussed why this is a nightmare scenario, but also a truth-revealing moment for the College Football Playoff Committee in terms of determining what it truly values. Do you value the teams with the best resume, or do you truly value the 4 best teams and putting them into the College Football Playoff? So we just discussed that topic, and in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the matchup. We're going to preview the Pac-12 matchup between Washington and Oregon State. And something that I was told in 2016. so the third year of the college football playoff committee, was that things always have a way of working themselves out. These scenarios that could possibly occur, and these what we call nightmare scenarios, always have a way of working themselves out. Shout out to my good friend Anna, who is currently tuning in right now. One of my best friends from Europe. One of the nicest people you ever meet. There's something wrong with the sound. Yeah, I think it's something wrong with my mic. These blue microphones, man, they just don't work how they used to anymore. So I'm definitely going to be getting a new mic soon. But thank you guys still so much for tuning in, because all your guys' support is greatly appreciated. So bear with us on the technical difficulties while we work through them. But this matchup between Washington and Oregon State is going to be a revealing matchup for not just the Pac-12, but also for the College Football Playoff Committee as a whole. Listen, we talked about how Washington has been undefeated, and something that I said is that they've been one of the 4 best teams the first half of the season. But something we noticed is they have been struggling as of late. Listen, they won a close game against Utah, and they beat USC by 10, and they beat Stanford 42-33, and that's been their results over the past 4 games. However, what we're starting to notice is their defense is extremely susceptible to the pass. It was just something we talked about before, but it's starting to become more and more telling, because as other teams are starting to improve and get into a rhythm offensively, the defense side of the ball for Washington is continuing to struggle, and they're not making improvements. And as we see that, Washington is matched up against Oregon State, who, for the most part, it has been one of the best defensive teams in the Pac-12. We know that they do an excellent job of stopping the run, but they also have a fairly good secondary. And listen, Oregon State's 8-2, but I said that they were one of the 3 best teams in the Pac-12 throughout the season. I know they suffered a tough loss against Arizona on October 28th, which they lost by 3. But if they don't have that loss, we're talking about them possibly making a run at the college football playoff. And this is a home game for Oregon State. We know that Oregon State is undefeated at home so far, and we know that Washington is a good road team. Washington is a good road team. I won't say that they struggle on the road, but they're a good road team, and they skated out of Oregon against Oregon. I'm sorry. They skated out against Arizona State. Like I said, they skated out against USC, and they skated out against Utah. I think eventually, unless you're a truly dominant team, that what we call luck just starts to run out. And I think this is going to be the day where Washington's luck just runs out. I think that Oregon State is going to be the most physically dominant team, the most physical team that Washington's going to play all season, specifically in the Pac-12. And we talk about how physical Oregon is, but how physical is Oregon truly when, if we look at Oregon's schedule, the only ranked win that Oregon has is against Utah. So, what does that truly mean? And we looking at this, we see that eventually the physicality that Washington struggles with is going to come back in and hurt them. And I think this is one of those games. I think Oregon's going to do a great job of selling out on stopping the pass, because they know that their front seven is good enough to drop a man in coverage and still be able to stop the run. So I do think that Oregon State is going to win this game. And I think what happens with this is, as Washington loses, it starts to alleviate a lot of the issues that we just discussed in our previous topic, which really just takes pressure off the College Football Playoff Committee, and it no longer forces them to really, for lack of better words, stand 10 toes down on what they truly value. which is lucked up for it's lucked up for the college football playoff committee. They don't have to do that because, you know, I think this is necessary. These moments of pressure, these moments of anxiety are necessary, not just for the playoff committee, but for us as individuals. It's necessary. These moments of stress and anxiety are necessary to help reveal who we truly are as people and, you know, what we truly value in this life. And, you know, that's why moments of stress and anxiety are necessary for our growth and our development. And this moment right here, Oregon State, I believe, is going to beat Washington. And what happens is obviously Washington drops out, I believe, of the college football playoff race. I know they still have a chance to play for the Pac-12 title, which will likely be against Oregon, but I don't think a one-loss Pac-12 team champion will get in over a one-loss SEC champion, or even a one-loss Georgia. So things always have a way of working themselves out, especially when it comes to college football. And this year is no different. But I would love to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the chat room. What do you guys think about this matchup between Washington and Oregon State? Will Oregon pull off the upset at home? Will Washington stay undefeated? Let me know what you guys think in the chat room. I would love to hear all about it. I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives and whether you guys think I'm right or wrong. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. So be sure to just leave your thoughts in the chat room, or if you're watching this after it's live, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. You know, we love to hear your guys' opinions on it, on this topic right here, and all topics. But with that being said, guys, that's it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful episode. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all latest content. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Sorry to Bother You Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/sorrytobotheryoushow/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/sorrytobotheryoushow/tip. None of this is possible as you guys are fans. We're so grateful and honored for all the love and support that you guys show us. And all the links to our donations and to our website where you can get merchandise and to our Patreon account will be left in the description below. And we'll be back again, guys, same time tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, guys, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and